So, to kick things off, first we have Namali Brennett, and she will be performing a quick song for us. Let's give it up for Namali!
Sister Rosa wasn't born to settle down. Sister Rosa wasn't born to settle down, settle down. She was born to rise. Like a leaf to the shore, like a shore to the waterline. Sister, she wasn't born to settle down. Sister, she wasn't born to settle down, settle down. She was born to rise. Like a leaf to the shore, like a shore to the waterline. Like angels and feet never touch the ground. Could they ever know how big the world seems down? Long after they go. Sister Freedom wasn't born to settle down. Sister Freedom wasn't born to settle down, settle down. She was born to rise. Like a leaf to the shore, like a shore to the waterline. Like angels and feet never touch the ground. Could they ever know how well the world seems down? So long after they go. Which among us was born to settle down? Which among us was born to settle down, settle down? We were born to rise. Like a leaf to the shore, like a shore to the waterline. Like a leaf to the shore, like a shore to the waterline. Leaves to the shore, like a shore to the waterline.
Thank you, Namali! We were born to rise. And with that, we're going to look a few decades back, and we have Patsy that will be giving us a short story. Patsy simply wanted her bio to be "Abortion rights are human rights." Let's give it up for Patsy!
So, I have a story. I'm a person who pre-Roe versus Wade, right? I was like 20 years old. I worked at a youth emergency service, and the youth emergency service was a dedicated 24/7 helpline. So we helped people with housing and food, domestic violence, whatever people needed. One night a phone call came in, 15-year-old girl. She was deathly ill, and she couldn't, they wouldn't see her at Hennepin County General because she was underage. She needed parental consent. She had been impregnated by her father and then aborted by a friend of her father. She had no idea what was going on, but she was smart enough to run away. She came to Minneapolis. She called us. We had a doctor who was willing to help us in these situations. She came to my house in the middle of the night. I was not allowed to meet the doctor. I was not allowed to look at her so that I plausible deniability is what they call it, I think. And she was able to help this young woman. So, you know, we can't go back, guys. We just can't. We won't go back.
And that brings us today to what our group hashtag is. Anything you post on social media today, hashtag we won't go back. We are looking forward. And with that, we've got Abby coming up to the mic, and Abby is going to lead us in some chants.
You go, girl. 2, 4, 6, 8. We won't be forced to incubate. 2, 4, 6, 8. We won't be forced to incubate. 4, 6, 8. We won't be forced to incubate. 2, 4, 6, 8. We won't be forced to incubate. 2, 4, 6, 8. We won't be forced to incubate. 2, 4, 6, 8. We won't be forced to incubate. 2, 4, 6, 8. We won't be forced to incubate.
Next up, we have a social worker from town that would like to speak on many heavy things surrounding abortion. Sarah is a social work professional in Decorah who has worked in the domestic violence field. She is passionate about abortion justice and acknowledging that racism, economic insecurity, and immigration status only multiply the already massive barriers to abortion care in this country. Let's give it up for Sarah.
Thank you, everyone. As she said, my name is Sarah Fleming. I am a Decorah resident. And as a social worker, I've spent a significant portion of my career in the domestic violence field. So I'm going to speak from that today. Domestic violence, sexual violence, dating violence, and other forms of gender-based violence are fundamentally about power and control. The Dobbs decision and the laws being passed in state legislatures across the country, including Iowa, are about power and control over the bodies of women, trans, and non-binary people. Denial of reproductive agency and bodily autonomy is already one of the many tools used by abusers to exert power and control over survivors of gender-based violence, and this will only get worse with our new reality. I work for Esperanza United, a Twin Cities-based organization dedicated to ending gender-based violence in the Latino community. Racial health disparities and immigration status complicate these survivors' access to domestic violence service and access to abortion. Women, trans, and non-binary people of color, especially those who are low income, will be especially affected by abortion bans and should be a focus of our advocacy. The Supreme Court decision has been condemned by domestic violence and sexual assault agencies throughout the country. A statement from the Iowa Coalition Against Domestic Violence reads in part, victims of domestic and sexual violence have an acute need for timely access to comprehensive reproductive health services, including abortion. Reproductive coercion happens when a person who harms restricts the freedom of their partner to control their bodies, lives, and futures. Harmful partners use intimidation, threats, or violence to deny bodily autonomy. This includes rape, sabotaging contraception, and coercing a person to become pregnant and carry a pregnancy against their will. Outlawing access to reproductive care threatens survivors' freedom and health and places victims of violence in greater danger. Privacy is fundamental for survivors seeking safety. They rely on this protection to feel safe, seeking help, and accessing services. With the Dobbs decision, the Supreme Court has compromised all Iowans' constitutional right to privacy and for survivors of gender-based violence, putting them at additional risk for harm. We stand with survivors of gender-based violence and recognize the harm of the Supreme Court's decision on their self-determination. We condemn abortion bans that further jeopardize the safety of survivors of gender-based violence, along with all women, trans, and non-binary people.
Thank you, Sarah, for covering what are some really heavy topics and will be a result of this unfortunate decision that came out of the Supreme Court. I'd like to take a second to talk about why we're here today and what we can do. So I just think that we should be here to remind state and federal lawmakers that they can't further erode an already insufficient right to abortion in the United States. We will not accept anything less than our right to determine our futures on our own timelines. And with that, we have Liz, who will be coming up to lead us in a song.
Thank you. It's so good to be here with you today. This is a new song that Abigail Bankson made that people are singing across the country and across the world this week and these weeks. We will not be controlled. Try that with me. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. You got it. Are we going to sing this? Are we going to sing it out? We got it. We will not be controlled. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. Sing it. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. Sing it like you mean it. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. Sing it one more time. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul.
All right. Next up, I think it is very poignant. We have two recent high school graduates. They will be joining us at the polls for the first time this November to make their voice heard. One of them is Olivia. Olivia is a recent graduate at Olwine High School. She will be attending Beloit College as a Human Rights and Social Justice Fellow. And next up, we have Abby. Abby is a recent graduate of Crestwood High School. And she will be attending the University of Iowa this fall for English education and political science. This is the future of females. Let's give it up for Abby and Olivia.
On June 24th, 2022, people with reproductive organs were stripped of their rights. This decision was made by 6 Supreme Court justices, 5 of whom are men. Today, Olivia and I will be presenting A Man-Made American Dream by an unknown author. Welcome to the Man-Made American Dream, the epitome of the free world, where men in 2 starched suits dig their skeletal fingers into the soft flesh below my belly button, carve gospel disguised as legislature into my ovaries, scream from the rooftops of their picture-perfect mansions that my body belongs to them.
I stand, shackled by the statutes, inked with the blood of those before me, cornered by the corrupted word of God, who in this country apparently finds no mercy for those who are not men.
The slow waving of the stars and stripes has morphed itself into the lines of a prison jumpsuit, a felony slapped onto my fallopian tubes. And suddenly, I am living in
the man-made American dream.
Thank you, ladies. And also, thank you for traveling the distance you traveled to come and march and rally with us in Decorah. Next up, Abby will be leading us in a few more chants. Give it up for Abby and get your chanting voices on.
Alrighty guys, when I say hands up, you say my body. Hands up! My body! 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 Hands off! My body! Woo!
Before our next speaker comes up, I'd like to talk about a few more things. So we like to say, what can we do? Other than rallying, protesting, what can we do? There are so many local organizations, and there are hot pink sheets transversing this crowd right now with progressive, pro-choice politicians that are on the ballot this fall. Consider volunteering, donating your time, donating your money. If you're not into donating and working with politicians, great. There's CARE. There's women's health clinics in Decorah. Let's not forget that rallying doesn't end today. Today is the beginning. On top of that, you know how many Americans support the right to choose? 80%! 80% of us are out here saying pro-choice, and yet here we are with little to no choice in 2022, second time around. So with that, I would like to welcome Holly up. Holly is a professor of philosophy and identity studies at Luther College, and she is the co-chair for Decorah Pride. On top of all that, Holly's been a proud feminist since the young age of 15.
Thank you all for being here. This is really humbling. This is a beautiful show of support. I see so many different faces out here, and that's what I really love about political activism is we come together, we unite, right? And so that's the message that I want to share with you today is that to me, one of the most important things about fighting for reproductive justice is fighting for everyone's freedom, right? Because reproductive justice doesn't just affect cis heterosexual white women. However, this is what has galvanized a lot of support lately, right? Is now they're coming for you, right? Now they're coming for everybody. And it's way past time that we start getting out there and making a difference. There have been people who have been suffering under burdens that are completely unreasonable, that bar them from accessing the health care that they need. This is primarily Black, Indigenous, people of color, poor people, and gender minorities, trans people. There are a lot of people out there who have been affected by this injustice for a long time. Totally. And now we all have to fight it together. Okay? We all have to fight it together. And we're not doing it just for ourselves. We are doing it for all of us. So we have to remember everyone when we're doing that fight.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So the thing that I want to share here is something that I learned from a wonderful, now relatively old feminist organizing group called the Combahee River Collective. And they organized in the Boston area. They organized black women, queer women, poor women, women who are being underrepresented in the mainstream feminist movement of the 70s. They got together and said, we are the ones who can show you the way. We are the ones who have been experiencing this discrimination our whole lives. We're the ones who know what you need to know. And the wisdom that I received from reading the Combahee River Collective statement is, I'm going to paraphrase, is that if poor, black, queer women are free, we're all free. There's no other way. There's no other way. So if we're fighting with them, we are fighting for all of us. So I want you to join me in a quick chant here. I'm gonna say it first, and then we'll just do the first line together. We're not free until we're all free.
We're not free until we're all free.
We're not safe until we're all safe.
We're not safe until we're all safe.
And we're not loved until we are all loved.
We're not loved until we're all loved.
So let's just do the first one. We're not free until we're all free.
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 Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Holly, and thank you for leading us in that chant. So I'd like to take a minute to say that this is about more than protecting Roe. The right to abortion is what Roe gave us. We've seen firsthand, though, that the legal right to abortion alone has never been enough to ensure people get the care that they need when they need it. We need the Women's Health and Protection Act, and we need it now. Next up, we're going to have Abby come up and do a few more chants with us, and we will have, following that, another speaker. Stay tuned, raise your voices, and stick with us.
Alrighty guys, this one is going to be what we're all about, right? We won't go back. 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 We won't go back.
All right. Next up, we have Carolyn, who is from Decorah, and she will be taking a few minutes to talk with us about the importance of Planned Parenthood and other activist groups that have been protecting reproductive rights and the right to abortion included for decades. Carolyn is an active member of the Collective Action for Racial Equity, otherwise known as CARE, here in Decorah, Iowa. Let's give it up for Carolyn.
Well, thank you, Anna, and thank you everybody for showing up. You know, we've all been feeling, I'll just speak for myself, I've been feeling kind of angry and empty, and feeling a chance to get together with all y'all here today, just, yeah, it's therapeutic, right? And I hope I get to see you all a whole bunch more in the future as we get active in our little groups, in our little ways, on the email and in person. And I am a member of Collective Action for Racial Equity here in Decorah, and I'm happy to talk about that subject all day long. Come find me afterwards. But I'm going to read to you a statement from Planned Parenthood of North Central States. Abortion remains safe and legal in Minnesota, Iowa, and Nebraska. The Supreme Court decision will have no impact on patient care in those states. Planned Parenthood doors remain open. Trigger laws will ban abortion in South Dakota and North Dakota. Planned Parenthood paused scheduling abortion appointments in South Dakota, and abortion appointments will not resume. The Sioux Falls Health Center remains open for birth control, IUD, gender-affirming hormone therapy, and other sexual and reproductive health needs. Planned Parenthood does not operate a health center in North Dakota. The U.S. Supreme Court decision is wrong and will harm millions of people, said Sarah Stoas, president and CEO of Planned Parenthood of North Central States. This decision is an unconscionable rollback of fundamental rights for all people in the U.S. because people's rights to access abortion is no longer guaranteed by federal law. It now depends on where you live and how much money you have to travel out of state for abortion care. Forced pregnancy is a grave violation of human rights and dignity. We have a lot of work ahead of us. Now is the time for every person who supports abortion rights to stand up and act. I hope to see y'all later.
Thank you, Carolyn. We all know that politicians have been working for decades. Decades. Politicians have been working for decades to unravel this, and they've finally succeeded to a certain degree to make abortion as difficult as possible to get. People are forced to travel long distances. You just heard that. We already have trigger bans in states around us. People are forced to travel long distances, not only long distances, but wait days for appointments. Days. Pay out of pocket without insurance coverage, and make childcare even more difficult to get. We need policies that support people's whole lives. Abortion is just the beginning. We need better access to hospitals and clinics, healthcare provided by people our communities trust, insurance that covers our real needs, and policies that support families and individuals to live their fullest lives. We need policies that support abortion access, and we need them now. With that, we have Abby with another chant. Abby was a cheerleader in high school, can you tell? Using those chants for a purpose.
My body? My body, my choice. 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 My choice. Your body. Woo!
Abortion has always existed. Has always existed. That's an undeniable fact, everyone. And will continue to exist. Whether it's legal and safe or not, it will continue to exist. It is pivotal to have health care that supports reproductive rights. And that doesn't just mean abortion. We deserve the dignity and the respect to make our own decisions. This is the nightmare scenario that I think many of us here today hoped wouldn't happen. And yet, here we are. So I want to take a minute to go over this pink sheet and talk about what we have going on in this corner of the state and where you can take your unhappy feelings right now and put them to work. So, with that being said, let me set down my notebook real quick. Let's start with groups. There are many groups in this corner of the state that you can get involved with. Not necessarily even this corner of the state. Let's think national. Let's think statewide. Postcards to Iowa voters. Interested in telling people why you think they should get out to the polls this November? I sure am. What about Moms Demand Action? Seems pretty important to me. Emily's List. They're dedicated to making sure that we elect pro-choice female politicians. Let's get a round of applause for that. And then, as we talked about today, Planned Parenthood. They've been around the block a few times. They know that this is going to be a big fight, and they've got the funds to do it, but they're going to need continual support. So let's make sure to turn out for that organization. On top of that, locally, we have the Emma Goldman Clinic. You're looking for a place to take your funds? That seems like a pretty good place to start to me. Lastly, let's just not forget about the ACLU, who have been fighting for everybody's rights for a long damn time. So, with that, I'd like you guys to also think about some other action items, including yard signs, candidate events, walking in parades. We've got the Pride Parade this fall. Hope to see a lot of you there for that. You know, host a house party. If you're not going to be someone that wants to knock on a random person's door, tell your neighbors why you're getting involved. They at least know who you are. Text 5 different friends today. This is my ask of you. I have some other asks, but I'll start with this. Text 5 different friends today. Text or call them and tell them why you showed up today for reproductive rights, for the right to choose. Because while there's a lot of great faces here, there could have been more. Let's not forget that. There could always be more people with us. You know what? And while you're at it, write some postcards. Find people who maybe struggle to vote or struggle to get to the polls, because that's where this fight's going, folks. It's going to our state legislatures, our state house, and yeah, it'll be on the federal level as well. Let's think about this. If we can get some more pro-choice politicians, we can abolish the filibuster and get the Women's Health and Protection Act through. I'm coming to my closing. So this is my final ask of you today. I'm going to start first with what I believe. I believe in a future where abortion is available in our communities and people can make decisions about their bodies, their lives, and their futures. Now is the time to show up for our communities and to get involved. Now is the time. Sexual and reproductive health care, including and most importantly abortion access, is on Iowa's ballot this November. And we know it's coming. I'm standing before you all today and asking you to join me in volunteering, organizing, and in November, exercising your right to vote pro-choice politicians into office, one of whom is here today and is looking forward to meeting you guys, so that we can expand abortion and reproductive health care across the state, abolish the filibuster, and codify these beginning of time. Make our voices heard and don't let us be silenced. Remind anti-abortion politicians from now until November 8th, we won't go back. Thank you. To round us out today, we have a song by Nominally Bennett. And feel free to hang around. Let people know on Water Street, even after we're officially done, we're still here, we're making our voices heard. But, I'm saying hi. Oh, I'm sorry, Brennett, I apologize, is a singer, touring singer and songwriter, and trans woman who has called Decorah home since 2013. Give a round of applause.
I wanna break from the bonds that hold me. I wanna break them. It's only time. And I won't rest till the rest of us are free. Till the last is the next in line. And I wanna break the sisters with me. I wanna bring them, isn't it time? And I won't rest till the rest of us are free. Till the last is the next in line. Let's talk of freedom, yeah, let's talk of rights. What's that mean when you're stuck in a fight? It's fighting for a place at the end of a long, long, long line. I wanna thank those who came before me. I wanna thank them, isn't it time? They wouldn't rest till the rest of us are free. Till the last is the next in line. Let's talk of freedom, yeah, let's talk of rights. What's that mean when you're stuck in a fight? Fighting for a place at the end of a long, long, long line. I look for the day when oppression will cease. Look for the day, yes, isn't it time? And I won't rest till the rest of us are free. Till the last is the next in line. Sing it. Till the last is the next in line. Ooh. Till the last is the next in line. Till the last is the next in line.
Thank you guys for coming out today. This was really heartwarming to see in the center when you look left and right, and it's full of people who want the same things you want moving forward. I'm going to leave you with this one last thought today before I hang up the mic. We deserve the dignity and respect to make our own reproductive health care decisions. I will. Thank you.
I just want to bring up one thing that hasn't been mentioned, it's not talked about very much. people who are convicted of felonies cannot vote. So if a woman tries to receive an abortion or needs an abortion or a DNC for whatever reason and is convicted under these laws and is convicted of a felony, oh, I'm sorry, there, is that better? Okay. A felon cannot vote. Those women will not be able to vote. So this even goes beyond our health care. It goes to our ability to vote. Just make sure you're registered. Check to make sure you're registered to vote. Help people get to the polls, write postcards, get out the vote. Thanks.
Hey, before y'all go, I want to just virtually lock arms with everybody here. I want you to picture it in your mind that we're all of us in locked arms together. Just see that in your mind, like you're locked arms with the people next to you in one big, huge human locked arm mess, okay? So I'm locking arms with y'all, and if you want to get connected afterwards, come up and see us. We've got places for you to connect with us afterwards, so I will see you there.
And if you're not a registered voter, I do have voter registration forms with me today. So, just an idea, just a thought. Thanks all, y'all rock.